Hey everyone, are y'all ready to start pledging your loyalty to get a good old federal job? If you are not, then listen, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with you because the rules are changing and they changing. Oh, there is an echo. And let me see what is going on. There we go. I think I got rid of that echo. But yeah, today's topic is all about what are we going to do, especially as Black women who are facing unfair treatment in the workforce, not only in our current jobs, but as we are out seeking employment. And if you are not being proactive right now during these times, then you are in trouble. That's the easiest way to say it. I don't want to sugarcoat it. You need to be proactive because things are happening and they're happening quickly. And this topic is more important now than ever before, and more important than many of us wish to admit. A lot of us are getting hung up in the sensationalized storytelling that is going on in news media right now, where listening to the infighting and what's happening, at the very top level and being distracted, quite honestly. But I assure you that now is the time to get serious about what your future is going to look like. First, let me say, hey, y'all, welcome to the channel. This is the Kim with the Gems channel. I am Kim, aka Kim with the Gems. And on this channel, we talk all things wellness, travel, and finances from a cultural perspective, from a cultural point of view. And that is what today's topic is going to be about. We're going to talk about our finances and to how to future-proof our finances. And today we have a special guest. We're going to get into the introductions in a second. But first, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you are not a subscriber already. If you're a subscriber, you get to communicate with us. You get to ask the questions and we'll respond in real time. If you do ask a question, please put a Q in front of it or the question mark symbol so we can easily identify it. Hit the like button. That just simply says thank you for doing this topic. And it also gives the algorithm some information to push this content, this specific topic, out to more people like you who would want to hear it. And turn on the notification bell so you know every time we go live. This live came up somewhat impromptu, but we wanted to make sure, especially with all of the news that has been being covered recently. I started off at the top of this video speaking about one of those topics, but we wanted to make sure that we addressed it in a timely manner and that we keep talking about it, because if we get one person, two people to take action, to be proactive, then we feel mission accomplished. So let me just go ahead and introduce our heavy hitter for today. She is no stranger to this channel, but when topics like this come up, I have to call on the people in my circle, in my community, the people that I value their opinions, to come in and talk about what is really going on. So we are going to welcome Miss Andrea L. Henderson, who is a brilliant executive talent strategist, diversity, equity, and inclusion specialist, which are still very much needed, and investor, and someone that wants to see Black women, well, Black people in general win, and is committed to that call. Andrea also holds multiple certifications in human resources and recruiting practices and will help us learn how to pivot naturally and with ease during these chaotic times. So welcome, Andrea.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you for saying yes to the call. I truly appreciate it. And we see what is going on in this country, in this world, and we really need to sound the alarm, so to speak, right? And so if you are a Black woman who's navigating through microaggressions, through biases, or workplace discrimination, know that you're not alone. And also know that you deserve safe, respectful, and um, equitable environments to thrive in. And in this live video, we're going to share powerful tips for Black women who are dealing with these unfair treatments. And so, Andrea, I guess I kind of want to just start with you. Can you just generally
Mhm.
tell us what you've been seeing as it relates to unfair treatment, and some of the news stories that we have all been inundated with as it specifically relates to Black women in the workspace?
Yeah, I just want to start off with a little story, a little half-baked story that a friend of mine posted on LinkedIn today. And basically, and I'm not a gardener, but basically, it was if you have a flower, a beautiful, delicate flower, but it's not blooming and it's withering and wilting, do you throw out the flower or do you put in fresh soil? Do you repot it? Sometimes we don't flourish because we're in bad soil. And I think a lot of times I talk to people in my profession um, who feel like it's them, that they need to do better, they need to be better, they need to do more, they need to be more, and they burn themselves out trying to live up to an unrealistic expectation when really it's that they're just in the wrong environment. So I think a lot of what we're going to talk about right now is the soil, and make sure that you're in a fertile soil where you can thrive. And if not, how do you pivot to be in a better environment? Okay, start there. So Friday, the first Friday of every month, there is a jobs report that's released, and it's a major economic indicator about how the economy is doing, and it impacts investors greatly. The jobs report came out, and it wasn't remarkable, but what it indicated was that there were fewer jobs created in May than the numbers revised in April. So I think April was about 147,000 jobs. May was about 139,000 jobs. Not a huge difference in the grand scheme of things, but what it tells us is that it's trending down. We also learned that of those, um, unemployment number has stayed pretty steady. However, what we're seeing is if you break down the demographics of the unemployment numbers, that Black women are disproportionately impacted by unemployment, the highest absolute number um, of people entering unemployment. Um, and we also, as you alluded to, see that the Office of Personnel Management is making changes to the way that they are hiring federal employees, which is a traditional safe haven for Black women, specifically for Black people in particular. And they're changing it in a way that, one, the whole resume, the whole application process is different, and requires some essay writing, which would essentially require you to pledge your allegiance to the current occupant of the White House, which is problematic on so many levels. So I'm going to pause there and see where you want to take this, because that's kind of what I'm seeing.
Yeah. And you know what? Can we listen? Yes, yes, and yes to everything that you said regarding the jobs report, the pledging the allegiance, the changing of, the changing of requirements from OPM, Office of Personal Management. But can we also talk about some other news? And we'll, I guess, dive deeper into what that pledging of
Yeah.
allegiance looks like. But what struck me very curious this past week was the immediate elimination of the Job Corps program, and what that means to communities that use that to get ahead in life because of various circumstances. I know there are huge numbers of people who, young people who have aged out of the foster care program, young people who may have gotten in trouble, nothing, not really felonies, but trouble and had no real guidance, but Job Corps helped them in those areas as well. So can you talk a little bit about your thoughts about what the elimination of the Job Corps program means for us, especially?
Yeah. So I have a problem with it. I'm just going to state that so that you know the perspective. The challenge is if in prior administrations, when a program was being eliminated, it is the responsible thing to do to phase it out. So if the current administration wanted to eliminate the Job Corps, which I think is a bad idea, what they could have done is say over the next several years or a year, we're going to wind down the program so that people in the program can make arrangements and it's not chaos. Instead, what is happening is it's like happening immediately. And so all of the people in the program who are there to stay out of away from criminal activity, um, to avoid homelessness because they had nowhere else to go, to get skills so that they can provide for themselves and their families eventually, have to find something to do right now. And I can't imagine what happens when you have thousands of people that have no safety net, no support system, low skills or no skills. How do you survive? And I'm going to answer that for you. You're going to knock somebody over the head and commit a crime because that's your only alternative. And what happens is when you remove the safety net, you increase the you make the country less safe. You make it less competitive. You make it less compassionate. Um, and so I don't see anything good coming from it.
Yeah, and I would just like to add, I think there are options other than hitting people over the head.
Yeah.
You will do jobs that you will get maybe room and board, but get paid $3 an hour working in a field from sun up to sundown, or a coal mine, or in a chicken plant, or very low wage menial jobs, in order just to keep a roof over your head. You will do things that, instead of moving you forward like the Job Corps program was designed to do. And again, I'm not saying everything is perfect. I'm sure there was some mismanagement or some issues with that program, as there are in many programs, but it was designed to give those who didn't have a community, a network of people pushing them in the right direction. It gave them that push. Now it's like, fend for yourself. Um, get in where you fit in. There is no clear direction. And a lot of these kids are so impressionable, right? So if they're out on the street and they see someone who's offering them a place to lay their head and 3 meals a day, they may take it regardless of what the pay wages is, what the conditions are. And so, yeah, I think there's a lot of negativity, a lot of bad things outside of the robbing or ending back up in the prison system, because we also know this administration has invested heavily into the prison system and creating new prisons and things like that. But nothing is good, is what I'm saying, is nothing good is going to come out
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
elimination of Job Corps.
My concern, though, is that with such an abrupt end to the program, in order to get a job in a chicken plant, you have to be located close to a chicken plant. You have to have an application in. You have to have interviews. You have to get hired. Where do you go until all of that happens? Are you just going to be on the street? You have to find a shelter. You know, how do
Yeah,
you eat?
yeah. And I
So
think
I
that
do think it's,
they're going to follow. I think they have strategized this in a way that they will follow some of these people into those shelters, into these other abhorrent living conditions. And then that's when they come in and make whatever the offer is look better
mm,
than their conditions that they're in right now. But I agree. I definitely know it's going to get dark, real dark for these young people over the next few months. And it's summertime. The heat of the like I mean, winter and summer, like cruel. It's just cruel. Like LJ just said, cruelty is the point with these orders and actions. Agree.
yeah, it's heartbreaking because I couldn't even imagine. I mean, you have to think about, what do I do right now? And you know, anyway, so
Yeah.
it is very it is very dark. It's a very dark time.
Okay. 100% agree. And that's why this conversation, I will continue to have it. We will continue to have it until there comes a time where it just doesn't need to be had anymore because with the jobs report that we talked about in April, with the loyalty essays in order to get hired in uh, uh, area, the federal civil area that used to not require but so much, right? Now you have to yeah, let's talk about that a little bit more because we're not saying that you just have to write an essay. You have to write an essay pledging your loyalty to executive orders.
And describing how you will work to support. Now, in hiring processes, it's not uncommon for the employer to say, how will you support this initiative? Right? How will you add value to this, to this organization? But what is unusual in the federal government, where we have at least a two-party system, is for the party in power to require applicants to support partisan initiatives of the current occupant of the White House, because we know that that occupant can change every couple of years. So for the general application, to pledge your support is what is unusual.
Yeah, it's more than unusual.
I'm being very diplomatic.
Yeah, I was about to say that I would definitely use a much more harsh word, but unusual is we'll go with your word for now. But yeah, it is absolutely. Imagine having to write an essay pledging your allegiance to executive orders that you don't support, and then having to work in an environment with people that support them. Like, just say you are writing these essays to get a job, because I know some people will do that. Some people will, you know, do what they got to do to put food on the table. But now you're in an environment working amongst people that literally believe in the words that they wrote on the paper supporting these executive orders. And so dark times are coming, and they're here, but I don't really think that people are expecting how much worse it can get. And before we get into any more questions, I just want to play some audio. So Andrea was here with us on January 30th of 2025. We were here talking about a similar story. We were trying to get y'all prepared. Basically, we were trying to get y'all prepared. And the mission continues, the movement continues. But I just want you to listen to the audio from what was shared during her time here on the channel. So let me pull it up. I'm going to see if I could share it. Right. Let me see if I could share the screen. If I can't, I'm just going to play the audio. So give me 1 second, because I want everyone to realize that the writing has been on the wall since that document PJ 2025 came. And so I want us to take this serious. And so let me see. Oh, how come it's not showing? YouTube. I'm trying to find the actual. Is that it? That's not it. Okay, so I'm not going to waste too much time, but I'm going to play the audio and hopefully. Oh, that's why. Um, Let me just play the audio. Here we go. Tell me if you could hear it, Andrea.
Right. So I believe the future of work is not going to be a traditional.
Can you hear it?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Employee contract.
Let's rewind that a little.
Future of work is not going to be a traditional employer-employee contract. We're moving towards a future where everyone's a free agent and they contract their services, right? So you have a skill and someone engages you for that skill.
Let's pause it right there. The main takeaway that I want us to understand from this conversation that took place in January of 2025, it's all coming to vision, right? The vision is here, right? Free agency is a real thing. Knowing what your skill is, having a skill, and then monetizing that is what Andrea talked about in January of 2025. And I'm going to play a little bit more of it so you can just, hear some of the recommendations, and then we're going to get into more.
So the first thing is you have to have a skill. You have to know that you have a skill, because many of us have skills and we aren't even aware of it. You have to know what monetary value of that skill is. You have to know who is interested in that skill. So who your customers are, and then you can make a living off of that.
So here we are in June, almost 6 months later, right? Still having this conversation and seeing how legislation and changes in government and at corporations are living up to the fact that things are changing. No more DEI protections, right? Now you have to write an essay. Now, different businesses are slashing employment by the thousands because of the tariffs and the increase in prices, right? And so all of this is coming to pass. So with that being said, I'm going to go into the next question that I have for you, Andrea. With Black women projected to be hit the hardest in the shifting job market, what are some of the long-term risks of relying solely on what are some of the long-term risks of relying solely on traditional employment? Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So many of us have had our trajectories disrupted. And so there are federal employees who, it's service time. So you haven't met your time to retire. And so now what do? There are many people who are in corporate, same thing, and have been looking and with mixed success. So you can continue to ask for approval to earn a living, or you can create streams on your own. So the consequences is one is the destruction of wealth, because that's what's happening. You're decimating your savings. You're not contributing to your 401k. The value, you may even be pulling things out of your 401k. So the one is destruction of wealth. Two is you sort of along the same lines, may not be able to keep up with your bills. You may not be able to pay the mortgage, and then all of a sudden you put yourself in a precarious position. You go from a very upstanding citizen with a nice life, comfortable life, to now you're in a precarious position. Um, and then that has ripple effects, right? It's not just you, because many of us support family members, then it's the extended family, and it puts them in positions. I know that people have had to pull their kids out of college or out of private school or change their school, and it just becomes very disruptive. The consequences, those are the financial consequences, but there's also physical and emotional consequences, as if we weren't already stressed out and burned out um, before, right? Trying to stay in the jobs, and now, trying to get back in. So the consequences actually are pretty severe. And the people that I see weathering the storm the best have figured out how to generate revenue, how to earn money without being 100% dependent on a traditional employment situation.
And I think that the more news that comes out about what is really going on, the more serious that people will, and when I say people, I mean Black women, Black people will begin to pay attention. I just want us to realize that there's really no time to just wait and see, right? There's really no time because things are happening. We see, another reason why I brought up Job Corps was because we see that no longer do you need 1 year to phase out anything.
Right. No, no notice. No, I mean, and some of these companies are just popping up one day and I mean, saying, we're letting you go effective immediately, which is it's really heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking, and we need to get over the heartbreak and start to let that heartbreak fuel you into action. Because if they can do it to a company that has been around, or arm of the government that has been around for as long as it's been around, and in just one day, because you mentioned someone that that got noticed, like, okay, within 30 days you have to shut this down, right? So it's not like there's advance notice that's being given. We also see what's happening with the layoffs. It's not like, okay, by the end of the year, we're going to have to probably phase you out. We know your retirement is right around the corner, but we're going to work to make sure things are on. That is no longer happening. And if anything, from the news that we're receiving, please take away that all bets are now off. What you knew to be true last year, the year before, 10 years ago, get that out of your mind and just start seeing what's really happening and paying attention to what you need to do should something like this happen to you and or a family member. But I do have another question for you regarding um, with all of the isms that are happening, the microaggressions, all of the biases, the lack of upward. Hello?
Yeah,
Hello?
sorry about that. Can you hear
Oh,
me?
now I can. You okay?
Okay. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm on my phone, so sorry.
I hear clicking in the back. Okay. So back to the question. Sorry, y'all. um, with all of the things that I just listed, how can we use those challenges, right? The lack of upward mobility, the lack of security, job security, that we had just a few months ago. How can we now take those challenges and use that as the very fuel that can drive us into a plan B, entrepreneurship, starting your own? What are ways that we can use that?
So was that a question for me?
Yes.
Yeah. So I want people to ask them the question that I asked in January. What if no one ever gives you a job again? What if one of those orders says something like, people of a certain demographic, it's illegal to hire them, or you can only work in certain menial roles, or worst case scenario. What you've been saying is you don't have to get ready if you stay ready, or get ready so you don't. Point is, start now. uh if even if you think you're in a secure position, because you might not be, and if you're not in a secure position, it's even more urgent for you to figure out what skills you have, what problems you can solve, right? This country is full of people with problems, and if you figure out what problems you can solve, then you can figure out a way for to make some money. So we were talking earlier, and so there's a lot of problems. I help organizations um, find hard to identify top talent that's going to transform their business, bring them revenue, help them navigate regulations, a bunch of things. But I also help individuals connect to their purpose and to revenue streams, right? So I've thought about, okay, what are all the problems that I can help solve? And there are traditional problems like these. But there are some problems that you might not even be thinking about. Like, there are a lot of lonely people out there. That's a problem. How can you help solve that? And I'm not even talking about OnlyFans. There are ways that you can help solve the loneliness problem. Um, there are lots of people who have challenges with their children. You know, different types of challenges. But let's just take the most basic one. Like, what do I do with them when I go to work? Um, just think about what challenges people have. Some people just feel like there's not enough beauty in their life. How can you create an environment for somebody that's beautiful? How can you help lift someone's mental health? How can you help them with their physical wellness? If you make a list, if you just look around, there are tons of problems, and you figure out which problems you can solve. Um, I think that's a great way to start thinking about how you can generate revenue. What do you think? Does that sound too wishy-washy?
Um, I don't think it sounds wishy-washy. I know that, and I've been saying this since pretty much I started this channel. You can't even count the number of ways people can make money and or get wealthy if that's your goal. But if it's just simply to cover your basic needs, there are so many ways.
So I always say, if you think about it, we've been in the workforce in mass for like 50, 60 years.
I would say
Mm,
longer, a little longer,
okay,
maybe.
70 years.
Yeah. Hmm.
So maybe our generation, our parents' generation, not really our grandparents, you know? So Granny and Grandpa had to figure it out. They had to make it happen. They had to say, what can I do? Right? So Granny might have been making fish dinners on Sunday, and Pop, might have been fixing cars on the side, and, you know, doing like my grandfather was a sharecropper. Um, so there was no expectation that they were going to go get a job, that somebody was going to hire them to do something. They had to figure it out. They had to figure out a product or a service that they could do, that somebody would buy, that would bring home enough money to feed the family.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I'm suggesting that we need to go, think about that at the most basic level.
Yeah. I mean, listen, like I said, I know people who have made money in ways that would blow your mind, right? And I think that we have been put in a box, right? We are all about routine. And when I say we, I'm talking about the masses. I know there's some amazing gemstones, people in the gym nation that have figured things out outside of the box. But for the most part, the majority of us have been confined to education, get a job, rather it's 9 to 5 or 9 to 9, whatever that looks like, get an advanced degree, but stay within the confines of a corporate type of structure, right? There are so many ways outside of that. And some that granny and grandpa used to do, but we kind of got away from, right? We thought
Absolutely.
maybe now, selling fish dinners may be beneath us, but you know what? It's really not. If you are a good chef, if you know how to cook and you can service a need in your community or wherever you are. And so I think another reason why, Andrea and I are so passionate about this topic is because, well, number one, Andrea sees it as a, recruiter and DEI specialist. She sees it on a daily basis, like how not having an income or being pushed to the point where an unexpected loss of a job can put people in really stressful situations, having to pull your kid out of college or having to stop, an activity that they may be part of, or you having to stop an activity. Like if you had a trip planned and now you have to cancel it, like these are things that we kind of want to avoid. And so we're passionate because we know that they can be avoidable if you right, do the research, put the work in, and work to figure it out. I do have one more question, and then I want to talk about something. If you stay, please stay for the next few minutes, because Andrea and I have one, an announcement, two, a surprise, and we're excited about it. And it's going to start rather quickly, so please stay until after this question. I'll get into the surprise. So I wanted you to quickly talk about practical steps, right? So
Mhm.
let's just say there is a woman in the workforce who has gotten notice, maybe getting notice, or is just ready to leave, right?
Mhm.
Just to give like a couple, 1 to 2 practical steps that she can start to think about to start that pivot, like in her own, like to generate what I'm trying to say is to generate revenue, basically generate income.
Yeah. 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 Well, so what I would say is, first, start connecting with your network. Because for a couple of reasons. One, you're going to need community to get you through it emotionally, um, and maybe other ways as well. But people who know you, who have worked with you, who care about you, maybe even some that don't care as much, but just start connecting with people, because you're going to need those connections at some point. I'm a huge proponent of LinkedIn, but there may be other ways that you connect with your community. But definitely don't go into isolation. Don't bury your head in the sand. Connect. The second thing is, I would start making an inventory, a list of, 100 things that you might be able to do. And I would put nothing too tall or too small, right? Don't start filtering. You could think about things like, if I don't care if you were in the C suite and you say, look, I can clean, I can babysit, I could just put everything down, stream of consciousness, come up with a huge list, because you're going to eliminate some, and then you're going to pick the best ones. But you need a big list, so to give yourself the confidence that it's like, this is not the end. I just sat down and created this list of 100 things that I can do, and that is going to empower you and make you feel good. And then there's some other things that people start when they feel like they're losing income. They start getting really afraid to spend money. And I'm not saying that you should spend recklessly, but sometimes you have to spend a little money for some guidance, and to accelerate that pivot, because you don't have, I'm going to say this gingerly, You don't have all the time in the world.
No.
Some people are like, you know what, I'm going to get my PhD, whatever. We're not talking like PhD time. We're talking about, you need to figure something out relatively quickly. And sometimes you have to spend a little money to accelerate that. Because you can get from A to B, but the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, and the way to go in a straight line is to talk to somebody who's walked that straight line and can guide you. So those are the top three things that come to mind.
Listen, let's just recap that really quick. Network and community, powerful. Knowing things that Andrea says, do a list of 100, right? Which I know can be challenging, but that's going to push yourself, right?
Mhm.
But a list of 100 things that you can do and would want to do. And then also realizing that we don't have a whole lot of time. So many of us plan, but never produce. And so pivoting may cost you. An accelerated pivot should
Mhm.
cost you, right?
Mhm.
You should
Mhm.
invest in yourself in order to reap the rewards or reap the success that others may have had. So you can get some shortcuts and all of that. So
Yeah.
listen, I truly think that, the writing, I can't say it enough. The writing is on the wall for us specifically. And we really need to be about that action. And so I am literally going to do two things right now. One, I'm going to pull up what Andrea and I have been working on to help our community get to that level, to get to the level where if you are tired of working for the man, and the man is any type of corporation that does not value you, that where you may be at risk, where microaggressions are present, all those things, that is the man. If you are tired of working for the man as your sole source of income, nobody's saying you need to quit today and tomorrow. There always needs to be a strategy, but
Yeah.
start preparing yourself. So if someone knocks on your door or calls you on the phone or sends a mass email saying today is your last day, that anxiousness, that fear is lessened because you have properly prepared. And so I'm going to share our upcoming Decode Your Talent and Design Your 5-Figure Income Boot Camp with an optional 4-week group coaching. The 5-week boot camp is mandatory to attend the 4-week group coaching, but not the reverse. So if you only want to do the 5-week boot camp, you can do that without the 4-week group coaching.
5 days. Just want to be.
Sorry, thank you. So it's a 5-day group coaching where literally you're talking about accelerated. Listen, we are not wasting any time. By the time you walk away, I'm going to walk through exactly what it looks like in a second. But the start date is June 23rd, in less than, well, just over 2 weeks. June 23rd, we start. The week of June 23rd, we are going to meet every day, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we are going to go over the following. Here's the boot camp breakdown. Day one, the theme is discover what makes you brilliant. What is your zone of genius, right? So you already have a list of 100 things that you would love to do, but we're going to figure out what that talent is, what that zone of genius is, and where it's like swimming downstream, right? You don't want to swim upstream when you're starting your business or your next stream of income. You want it to flow effortlessly. So we're going to help you figure that out. And that is the Decode Your Zone of Genius, AKA Talent Day. Then on day 2, the theme is stop guessing and start monetizing. You're going to align your genius with a profitable problem. So Andrea talked about there's so many problems out there that you don't even know people will pay for you to help them solve. There are people that, one, don't have the time, may not want to do it, right? Listen, I saw this thing and I learned this years ago. Dog walkers in Central Park can live on Central Park. That's how much money they make for walking the dogs of wealthy people that don't want to walk them themselves twice a day. These people, some of these dog walkers were making $1,000 easy, clear net a day, and doing this 6 days a week. So you're talking $6,000 a week just by walking dogs twice a day. And it's probably more than that now. This was decades ago. So there are so many opportunities that are out there for us. Everything does not have to be digital, but digital is where we're at right now, and it simplifies things. So then day 3, we're going to talk about building your signature offer and digitizing your delivery. You're going to learn about offer creation, and Miss AI digital doppelganger expert herself, Andrea, is going to help you learn how to create a digital doppelganger blueprint. And I'm going to ask Andrea for those of you that may not know what a digital doppelganger is, can you just share what that is? And
Yeah. So with AI becoming, I can't say the word ubiquitous everywhere. Um, Now you can create a digital twin, a AI version of yourself that can show up in places and at times that you can't or don't want to. That's it.
the world is a beautiful place. It is, take advantage of what all the things that it is offering you. So that will be covered on day 3. Then day 4, the theme is build visibility and trust with your ideal client. So we're going to show you how to show up, stand out, and sell. And again, guess what? If you are not the best negotiator, there are people out there that will negotiate on your behalf, especially for big offers, right? For a commission, but we also have to take the fear out of talking about money. We have to, so many of us, and it's it has been studied that Black women, when it comes to negotiating, we are at the bottom of the pack, right? We have a fear of talking about money, and especially money in larger numbers. We're not talking about, right now you making millions of dollars, right? But we are talking about, it's really relatively simple to create a 5-figure stream of income this year, right? And so that can cover your mortgage, your rent, whatever for most people, the average person, that, you can have those urgent needs covered. And then on day 5, that is when we plan your next 5 figures with confidence, the 90-day income plan. So it'll be broken down into 30, 60, and 90 days, what you should be doing for the first 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days to get you to secure that 5-figure bag, so to speak, right? And so we are excited. And then we take a break for the week of, I think that's the 4th of July week, and we come back the week of July 8th weekly, where we expand upon this, and where we expand upon the 5-day boot camp with weekly coaching and helping you secure everything that you learned and put it into action. And so, Andrea, can you share more about it? And then I'll pull up a little bit more about the emotional types.
Yeah, well, I just want to say that this requires for some a mindset shift, right? Um, we're so used to saying to someone, "What do you need from me?" And now what we're saying is you have to move from that to what problem can I solve for people who are ready to pay? Instead of trading, instead of somebody telling you what problem to solve, you now figure out what problems you can solve and charge people for that. Instead of asking for permission, you have to give yourself permission. Um, Instead of, saying I'm great at my job and taking pride, which you rightly, correctly had the right to do, now you have to say, I'm building something that is going to outlive my job.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it is going to require a little bit of a mindset shift, but we're going to show you that it's possible to do quickly. And it also may be a matter of survival. So you need to really make that shift.
And I just want to say that when you have someone on your team that has been certified in human resources and human behaviors and diversity, combine that with diversity, equity, and inclusion, you're going to get insights that the average person is not able to give you. Because guess what? When we talked about, it may not mean that you're leaving your job today. Maybe this is something you could pitch to your current job. Whatever the idea is that you are coming up with or that we help you develop, these are things that some companies may need your assistance with. And they don't even know it until you bring it to them. And you may not have to leave your job, but you can add additional income streams from your current employer. So, Andrea, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I just saw an article today that Doge realized that they cut too many people, so they are going to try to hire some people back. Now, I don't know how many people are going to want to write those essays to go through the process, but I know one thing: if they let me go and realize that they needed me, I would say, okay, well, here's my new rate,
Mm-hmm.
and here's what the terms and conditions are going to be.
Right.
Right? So my shingle would go up so fast.
Exactly. And so with all the cuts that are happening in corporate and every place else, there's still fulfillment that's going to be needed in certain areas. So you definitely want to be prepared to say, you know what, I know you cut Sally, Susie, and Kenya from this department, but I, do have this side consultant business where I can, help you offset some of the, clients that need the help in this area, whatever. But these are ways that you can also, so it's not all about only starting your own business to leave your company, but to also see what other companies you can tap into that can help, you get to that 5 figures, 6 figures and beyond. And so, and just to share with you 2 things, the link is already pinned to the comments. The link is also in the description. If you are watching this video and you use the word decode at the end of, not the end of, at checkout, you will get an additional discount. Now you'll get a higher discount for the boot camp plus the 4-week coaching versus just the boot camp. But that discount code was supposed to end yesterday, but because we couldn't get this live done until today, it will be extended at least through Wednesday. No, what's today? Yeah, at least through Wednesday. So go ahead, sign up, use the discount. It's limited spaces only, but I want to also share with you some of the strategies we will use during the boot camp. And so I just want you to understand multiple streams of income is no longer an option. It's not. It is purely necessary. It's a necessity.
Yeah. I've always said, as a single mother, that I wanted my son to be raised in a 2-income household. But as a single woman, I knew both of those incomes had to come from me.
Right.
So that's not new to me.
But now with job insecurity at all facets, you used to get a government job. Listen, I went to college in DC, Howard, home of the government jobs. So many people used to tell me, get a government job.
Like that was safe, right?
It's safe security. You just go up in the ranks and that is it. That is no longer the case anywhere. And then with the tariffs and inflation, private sector is laying off more quicker than ever before. Jobs, companies are closing. Like, we don't have the option anymore to decide if we want multiple streams of income. And again, just what the future of corporate looks like. The end of the safe era, the end of safe, future-proof your career is what the headlines are saying. Work disrupted, preparing for the unknown. Career crash courses, planning for uncertainty, tomorrow's unemployment today, plan B, what to do when your job isn't forever. Like, listen, we need to be proactive versus reactive. We've been saying this. Well, I've been saying this since November of last year, but Andrea came and joined us in January to, let us know that now is the time to get really serious about these streams of income. And how we're going to do that is first by learning your emotional type. And I'm not going to read through all of this, but I do want you to know that there are typically 4 emotional types: the empath, the rock, the gusher, and the intellectual. All of us fall into one of those one of those traits more so than the other. Now, you can have some overlap, but we're going to give you an assessment and let you be able to learn exactly what your emotional type is, and therefore learning what type of business or what type of products or services you should be leaning into. And we're not going to get into what each one stands for. Those that were in the Maximize Assets Grow Abundance course, they have learned about this and have figured out what prototype, what type they are, as well as the people in the 28-day accountability challenge. But you have everything from the rock, well, the empath to the rock, the gusher, and the intellectual. But the beautiful thing is, once you find out which category you belong to, you'll learn the path of least resistance for you when you are developing your business, right? And just to give you an at a glance view, your emotional type plus your natural talents is a formula for success, right? If you're an empath, then we share with you exactly what your natural talent tends to involve: healing, deep listening, creating safe spaces, emotional translation, guiding others gently. Again, I'm not going to go through each one of these emotional types. This will be part of the boot camp as well as the coaching, but this is what we are going to use as part of the strategy. And again, I'm not going to go through each of the business ideas, but what we will deliver are low cost startups, low to no cost startups that many of us can use to start that next stream of income.
And I have to say,
interrupt me, Andrea. Go ahead.
I just want to say that that's one of the things that I got to say I'm so proud of. So, one, I am so grateful that you had the heart to be thoughtful about how can we help, and you're always thinking about ways. How can we help? How can we help? Secondly, is to understand the reality. You know, when I was in business school, I thought, starting a business took, millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars or a lot of money at the very least. But we have been really thoughtful about the types of businesses that can be started with little to no money. And that is intentional, because if we're going to say you got to start something in 5 days, we can't expect you to come up with a bunch of money. So we have focused on those businesses that can be started with little to no money, and I'm really proud of that.
Exactly. And the great thing is you're already starting with a network, right? The great thing about this community, you are starting with a network of people who have the same intention and mindset. Because I know a lot of times our friends, our family members, our social circles may not get it, may not understand what you are trying to do. But when you join a community like this, you are already setting yourself up to be in community with people who get it, that are not going to be like, oh, you can't do that. Oh, that doesn't make sense. Oh, no one needs that. No, you're getting in community already with people who already get it. And that's why I joined many, I have coaches, I have different communities that I belong to, which are necessary, because those are the people that I don't have to spin my wheels trying to force them to understand. And they will give constructive criticism, not just criticism because they don't understand, right? And so, again, you'll be in community. And then we have another surprise that we'll share for those who join. But one of those will be when it's time to start promoting your product, as long as it makes sense and it's not, anything that would be deemed inappropriate by Andrea and we will help you promote through our social circles. And Andrea has over 25,000. I have quite a few thousands as well. And we'll share more about that once you join. Again, I'm not going to go through the different areas, but we do break down, if you are empath, a rock, a gusher, or intellectual, different low cost initiatives that you can start to reap rewards from. And so, again, this is your invitation to join the Decode Your Talent and Design Your Five-Figure Income Bootcamp, as well as group coaching, where you'll receive support, you'll receive community, and you will receive accountability. Again, use the discount code DECODE at checkout for your discount. I want to say we have 5 spaces left, maybe. I think it's 5 spaces. So we're keeping this very minimal, right? We're not doing big groups because you are getting personalized attention. You're getting an assessment, you're getting, especially during the 4-week coaching, you're getting more one-on-one um I don't want to call it hand holding, but you're getting help. And so go ahead, sign up as soon as you can, because once we reach the max number, then we'll have to wait till we can do this again. I think there was something else I wanted to say. Oh, you have different payment options. Once you go to checkout, once you go to read more about it using the links in the description or pinned at this comment, you'll be able to see the different payment options. And I want to say, yeah, so we already went through day 1 through 5, and I think that's it. So, did you want to add anything before I ask you one final question, Andrea?
Well, I want to paint a vision for the future, the next 5 to 10 years. We are going to see more $1 million coaches and consultants. We
Mhm.
are going to see Black women providing tech-enabled services built from their own cultural insights, right? Building the things that we need for other people like us. We are going to see more use of AI in business. This is going to happen. We're going to see people partnering with other people that they've met in communities like the one that Kim and I are creating. So your future business partners will be in there. And we're going to see some of these businesses scale to the point where they're taking on investors and build equity and take on employees and have exits that make the newspapers. This is going to happen. So, you can start thinking about it now, and or you can wait and read about it in the headlines. But this is what the future looks like. I'm telling you, I talk to people every day. I'm talking to both companies, I'm talking to executives, I'm talking to people who are building. This is New York Tech Week. I was out all week.
Mhm.
So, we're talking about what the future looks like, and this is what the future looks like. So that's just what I wanted to say.
And just to piggyback on what Andrea says, listen, this is online only. We're not talking in person. Online coaching market is expected to reach 11.7 billion globally by 2032. That's a 14% increase. And this is Allied Market Research. This is a reputable company. But if you take the entire, let me get back to the entire coaching business is supposed to reach, oh, I lost it, 27 billion by 2032. So again, we're talking growth in that market, but also think about industries like if you are an empath or somebody who's really into helping others, the doula market. Who would have thought that the doula market is one of the fastest growing? And think about areas where healthcare is going to be hit hard.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, if you have a health and wellness idea, if that is something where have a passion for, now is the time. There are
Mm.
so many industries that are going to grow from the gig economy, the coaching economy, because of everything else that's being shut down and cut.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And can I give another example, which people might not think about?
absolutely.
The way that our education system is changing. I'm being real diplomatic here. But the way that our education system is changing, there are things that are being eliminated that people don't want to see eliminated and will pay to be included. You saw what happened with Hillman Talk and TikTok University.
Yeah.
That professor said, I'm going to teach studies course, and in a day she had like 4 million views. She had a couple hundred people, a couple hundred thousand people sign up for her course because they said, you know what, I can't trust the institution to teach it to me. I'm going to learn it from this professor. um, we're getting ready to have a family reunion in July, and I'm going to tell tales out of school, and it pains me to say this, but there are people in my family that do not know how to play spades.
See?
And that is a crime against humanity. But I have a girlfriend who started a company because she knows how important these cultural lessons are, where you can take a class on playing spades, and I'm gonna have to sponsor some of my cousins.
Listen, this is what I mean by saying there is money to be made at every turn. Like there are so many ideas that you haven't thought about, or there are ideas that you've thought about that no one else has thought about, right? And so now is the time to start planting those seeds. And like Andrea said, make sure that you are planting yourself in fertile soil. Like right now, the soil is very fertile in some of these consulting areas, these coaching areas, these wellness areas. Like there are so many ways to make money. And we didn't talk about like the, digital space, the membership space, the consulting and coaching space. And then there was I'm missing others, but that we're going to cover all of that during this 5-day challenge as well as the boot camp. So again, I'm going to come, singing this with my bullhorn as much as possible, because at least I can say that for whatever reason this was put on my heart to, go so hard about, I continue in that divine message, because if you don't see it, it's because you don't want to see it, right? If you don't see what's going on in this country, it's because you don't want to see it, and you just want to hope everything is going to be okay and skip through the loo and all of that. And wow, I haven't said skip through the loo in a long time. But yeah, so this is our invitation once again for you to join the Decode Your Talent and Design Your 5-Figure Income Bootcamp and 4-week group coaching, which starts on June 23rd. Andrea and I are going to come back, and I forgot what the topic was. Our next live is, but we're going to come back and have another conversation with you guys probably in a week or so. But if you can sign up now, go ahead and sign up now. Invest in yourself, bet on yourself. This money, if you do the work, will make itself back in no time. If we're talking about getting you to design your 5-figure income, the small investment for the launch course is going to make itself back in no time. And
Yeah.
go ahead, Ron.
I would say if you we're talking about transformation. If you follow the process, you have to trust the process and follow the process and do what we say, because there will be assignments. 5 days is fast. You will come out of this with a business.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't even know how to communicate that value, where we're saying, listen, we are going to take our time and walk you through step by step so that you can come out of this with a way to make money regardless of what happens.
And there is a saying that I love, and it's basically facts change feelings. Feelings can never change facts, right? So if you're feeling like everything is going to be okay, make sure that it's backed up in facts, right? Because the writing on the wall is that it's going to get darker before the light, right? And we have to prepare for that. And one of the biggest problems that we have is decision paralysis. I've seen it time and time again. I have been part of that. I have done so many business plans and rewritten business plans only for those businesses to never see the light of day. When I have gone into the zone of 5 day, 10 day, this is going to get done, that's when I've seen the most success. And
Yeah.
I'm here to tell you, you can easily, if you put in the work, make 5 figures plus. Plus, I don't even want to say before the end of the year, before the end of third quarter, if you do the work. And I've seen it happen. And it depends upon, of course, what your area of expertise is, but um, it's not impossible. Don't be afraid. Don't think it can't be done, because it can. And so again, we invite you to join us for this boot camp as well as coaching, and you will not be sorry.
Yeah. And I, I feel like I just want to add on one more thing is that I am a believer in the power of positive thinking. So if you think it's going to be okay, I think it's going to be okay too. I love that. And I know it's going to be okay eventually. Eventually. But the challenge is you need some insurance. The one thing I'm not willing to do is go without insurance. So if you're in a role and I have a job, um, if you things are going well, it I almost want to beg you to have a plan B, because I talk to people every day. Some of them have really solid plan Bs, but they want to, see what's going on, and some of them don't. I am a plan B, C, D, E, F, G type person, but I beg you to have some insurance. That's all.
Yeah. And I'm of the sound mind. Yes, everything will be okay eventually,
Mhm.
but that is not going to change the fact that right now things are a little bumpy, and they will be for the foreseeable future. And we see that with every day of executive orders that are being signed. And so, again, you can choose to see it, or you can choose to hide your head in the sand and just go based on feelings that eventually everything will be okay. But we're here to make sure, or not to make sure, we're here to help you live a life where you're not as stressed about how am I going to pay for groceries? How am I going to pay my rent? Like, we want you to have that as insurance, as Andrea said, versus just, yeah, you know, everything's going to be okay. Meanwhile, your stuff is sitting on the side of the road because you've been evicted, and we just don't want that. And I'm just using that as an example. Of course, that's not what I want for anybody. But if you are sitting on any type of idea, if you are sitting on a need to make discretionary income, and I won't even say if you are, I think everyone right now is sitting on that need to generate discretionary income, even if you don't know it yet. And so if you look at some of the prices, I mean, these prices are not playing the way they are increasing. If you look at prices for cars, if you look at interest rates alone are going to be ridiculous for the foreseeable future. So let's just plan accordingly, and let's decode our talents and design this 5 figure income and do it with ease. We don't want to wait until it's the 12th hour and we're trying to scramble and figure out how we can generate an extra $500 this week. So, yeah. So, with that being said, we will say see you in the upcoming challenge, the upcoming boot camp. And I plan to be back live. Today is Saturday. I plan to be back live Tuesday or Wednesday. So stay tuned for that. I know for the Gym Nation, we have one more meeting that I haven't done yet. I will schedule that for this week as well. And yeah, share this with a friend. Share this with someone that you know that may need this, right? Maybe you don't. Maybe you're living happily retired and have no worries or no concerns, but share this with someone that you may know that may need this. And I'll leave the last words for you, Andrea, and then we're out.
Well, I'm excited. I am excited about what we put together, what we haven't discussed, but I'm assuming everybody knows because this is your platform, is what a brilliant marketing mind you are. and all that you have accomplished. And, I'm sitting here thinking, wow, it's only 5 spots. Like, who can I tell? I know some of my family members need to be in the room. So I've got to say, let me go tell some people before this fills up.
Well, thank you for that. And again, I think the only reason there's 5 left because I have been traveling so much that I haven't been promoting the way we just did the live today. I wanted to do it last week. But trust you me, I'm not concerned that they won't be filled up, but I want the right people to be in the room. And we don't know when we're going to do this again because Andrea's schedule is intense, especially with everything going on in the world. Mine's is intense. I'm currently in South Carolina and I'll be here handling a lot of business for a minute, but we wanted to get this done because I'm telling you, second half is going to look very different, y'all. And I'm not trying to fearmonger nobody, but second half is guaranteed to look very different. Remember, Project 2025 was the first 180 days. We're a couple weeks away from that 180-day mark, and they have been lockstep. So if you haven't read it, look at some of my old videos. We recap what they plan to do, and they are well on their way to checking things off the box, a lot of the things off the box. And so we want to be poised for success for second half and beyond. And I said Andrea was going to have the last word, and I kept talking, but I'm going to say peace out now. And thank you for joining, and we will see you soon. Thank you so much, LJ. LJ says the value. Yes, LJ has been part of a couple of our communities. The value and community will far outweigh this program's cost, speaking from firsthand experience of Kim and Andrea's expertise, insight, and community. Yes. And again, the link to sign up is right here. Also in the description, as well as in the the discount code is decode. Sorry. So you could go to bit.ly/decode 2025 and register now. Thank you for tuning in today. If you're watching on the back end, thank you for tuning in. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you soon. Andrea will be back in about a week or so. We'll let you know, but I'll see you guys in a few days. Take care. Have a good night, everybody.